Hi everyone, I'm Joe. Today I'm going to be doing the Contradictions Book Tag. This was originally created by Daniela. I was tagged to do this by my friend Raya, whose channel is the Book Finch. I will link both of their channels in the description box below, of course, and I would highly recommend checking out both of their channels because they are both really nice people. So there's 8 questions related to this tag. It is very self-explanatory. Basically, it's a case of you liking a particular idea. You don't like a book that has that idea, or you like a book that actually features a major idea that you normally do hate, that kind of thing. And obviously the questions are written down on a notepad that I've got in front of me, so I will have to be looking down from time to time to read the questions. So, question 1, I love this genre, but I didn't like this book. And for this one, I'm going to do science fiction, and in particular, space opera with Revelation Space, and indeed the Revelation Space trilogy, by Alistair Reynolds. I always assumed when I read this for the first time, and only time, in fact, about 4 years ago now, that I would like it, because Alistair Reynolds often gets said in the same breath essentially as Peter F. Hamilton, whom you know that I am a big fan of, and I was expecting to like it, and yet for some reason this book, and indeed several other books by Hamilton, have failed to work for me on some really fundamental level. I just find them hard going and dull somehow. I'm not giving up on Alistair Reynolds yet, because there's still several more that I've got, and indeed I've bought several more since this reading these, so I'll definitely read more by him and try more by him, but this amazingly didn't work for me. So question 2 is, I rarely read this genre, but I loved this book. And for this, I'm going to choose one that I've read only recently, at least as far as the channel is concerned, although I did read this as well for the first time quite a number of years ago as well, and that is Child 44, written by Tom Rob Smith. This is historical fantasy set in Russia in the late 40s and 50s, post World War II, and sort of pre Cold War, and it's dark and quite pessimistic in a lot of respects, which you would not expect me to like because I'm an optimistic person. This book normally would fail for me, but there's something about it, and the main character, Leo, is somehow manages to redeem the book for me. And I was really surprised that when I read this, my sister bought me this for my birthday many years ago, and I thought it was a bit of a strange choice when she bought it me, because it's in the subject matter, and then when I eventually got around to reading it, I was like, oh, okay, I was actually impressed. So this has worked out surprisingly well for me, considering I don't read a lot of historical fiction. Question 3 is, I love this trope, but I didn't like this book. And that would be Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers, Arkady and Boris. Now this is obviously a very strange science fiction book set in the idea of the zone, which is basically a radioactive area. Basically, it wasn't predicting it, but it kind of did. The idea of Chernobyl and people living and scavenging in the ruins of Chernobyl, essentially, prior to actually Chernobyl happening. And you would think, and I expected, that when I read this, I would really enjoy it, because it's got the element that I would expect to like. The sort of strangeness, the surreal feelings of it, the character sort of going through this zone, scavenging. It's ideas that I've carried before and I've enjoyed. But this writing, and frankly at this point, I've read quite a few books by the Strugatsky brothers, their writing style doesn't work for me, and I've almost pretty much given up on the Strugatskys at this point. I've got one other book left by them that I haven't read, the record, but their books generally I keep expecting to like, and there's just something certainly about them that I like, but they're so strange and weird that I don't get what they're trying to achieve. So far the Strugatskys have been a bit of a failure for me. It's just a personal thing, of course. I do not discount the Strugatskys as writers. I definitely do consider them to be quite considerable writers. And question 4 is, I hate this trope, but I loved this book. Now for this, I'm not going to name a specific book, even though the question sort of indicates it, because I'm just going to talk about a trope that I love I hate the idea of, but I seem to keep reading books by and liking, and that is time travel. Because I hate the idea of time travel, and obviously time travel leads to paradoxes and the many other issues related to it. I hate the idea of it, and it actually annoys me and frustrates me in books sometimes. Yet the books I've read that feature time travel normally do it in a way that doesn't frustrate me, mostly, and I actually seem to really enjoy time travel books. So it's a bit of a strange one, I hate time travel, yet the books keep working out for me on multiple occasions. So it's just one of them odd times where, sometimes at this point I know that I like time travel books despite not liking the actual concept of it as a whole. Question 5 is, I love this author, but I didn't like this book. And this, I don't have any books to show you, but those two books that immediately come to mind are Strata and The Dark Side of the Sun, both written by Terry Pratchett. As you know by now, if you've watched any of our previous videos, you will know that I love Terry Pratchett dearly. I literally learned to read on Terry Pratchett. I mean, the first book I ever read of my own free will was indeed The Colour of Magic. The second was The Light Fantastic. So Terry Pratchett is important to me. Yeah, those two books, which I read when I was in my mid-teens, I'd read quite a few Discord books by then I read those two, really didn't work out for me, and I just thought they were strange. And now I can't remember too much about them because I was literally in my mid-teens, probably 15 or so. I mean, I suppose I could try to give them a reread. I mean, I don't have a copy of them though, but I don't know, I remember them not liking them then, so I'm just sort of quite happy with, discounting. I mean, for instance, another few books by him that I didn't like are the books, the Johnny and the Bomb, Dead and something else. There's the third one. Yeah, no, I didn't like them either. Those are written for younger audiences, and they didn't work for me, despite the fact obviously it's Terry Pratchett, so an author that I absolutely love. So the sixth question is, I previously disliked a book by this author, but I loved this book. And for this, I'm going to choose an author that I haven't mentioned much on my channel, although I have mentioned occasionally, and many people love this author, and that is Stephen King. This is Skeleton Crew. This is one that I actually do love this because it is a short story collection. Because at this point I know that I like Stephen King when he writes short fiction, which is a collection of. Indeed, several of the books of his that I greatly like are short fiction. His full-length novels, with a few exceptions, generally fail for me. To me, Stephen King, he goes on too much and he doesn't get to the point. He sort of blabbers on, and he annoys me. So his short fiction though is far more concise. His ideas are sharper, his writing is sharper, and I think with short story he's phenomenal. He really is a good short storyteller. I wouldn't exactly rate him highly as a full length fiction author though, because personally I know a lot of people do rate him, and some people think he's just churning stuff for money at this point. There's whole debates on Stephen King because of course, because he's a very popular author, he creates debate, as is often the case. But I'm not discounting him as an author, for the record, because I know I do like his work. Just shorter work, definitely shorter work. Now the next book that I'm going to talk about, and indeed the next question that relates to it, is I love this cover but I didn't like this book. And for this, it's actually a fairly easy one when I was looking at my shelf, and that is Station 11, written by Emily St. John Mandel. I love this cover, I really do. I love the fact that obviously Station 11, the title is written in orange. You've got the author's name written quite subtly there that you actually can barely see on camera. You've got, it's all white with a little picture of a deer with the black cityscape around it in a little circular shape there. I think the cover is lovely. It's one of the nicest covers I own. Yeah, I didn't get this book. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I mean, I'm not discounting Emily St. John Mandel. I said that several times in the video. But this book I didn't get, and I didn't particularly enjoy. It's one of them things where, I mean, I'm glad that I own the book. If nothing else, it looks lovely. But still, you know, it just didn't really work for me. And finally, the 8th and final question is, I don't like this cover, but I loved this book. And for this, there's a fairly easy one for me to choose. And in fact, it's easy because there's not that many books that I think the covers are really bad on. This is one of them. And that is Snow Crash, written by Neil Stevenson. I like the book. The cover just looks like somebody just splashed a little bit of red paint and black paint at the top of the cover with a few lines going across it. I understand what it's trying to do relating to the plot line and the style of the book, and indeed in the subgenre, but this doesn't work for me. It just looks boring because it's the title in a sort of fashion that goes across with a bit of colour there. It's like, so what? It's not interesting or exciting, and I just don't think it works that well overall for the book. Anyway, with that said, that is it for all of the questions. There is a 9th question, technically, which is tag people, but I'd never like tagging people because although I never know who's done what tags, but I will say that if this sounds of interest to you and you think that you can come up with some interesting answers, which is why I did it, because you know the answers to this were a little bit more interesting than some, so you know it creates some interesting ideas for me, then please feel free to say that I have tagged you. And with that said, that is it for this video. So if you've read any of these books, then please leave a comment and we can have a talk about them. If you think you might have a book suggestion for me based on these that you think I might enjoy, then again please leave a comment and we can have a talk about it. All my social media links can be found in the description box below, as they always are. And with that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching. I'll see you another day. Bye for now.